And we're back at it again, folks, right here at Brooks Landscaping, where we turn your outdoor landscape drainage needs into a reality. Now, as you can see, we got this beautiful design that we put together for the customer. Only phase one of this landscape project. We've been here about 2.5 days, but it definitely says that this is going to be one of the most effective ways to deal with the erosion that is happening on their landscape. And I'm going to take you through this project so that you can see for yourself some of the ways in which you can begin to deal with a lot of the drainage problems that you have on your property. Now, the first thing that is necessary is to begin to identify where that water is coming from. And in this case, it's coming from that retaining wall, which I'll take you to shortly. But what we had to also do is appropriate that water so that we can make sure that we control it. And so in this case, we went with the decorative dry creek bed that you see here, a beautiful design decorative dry creek bed that also allows for a 22-inch drain box to be able to take that water that was naturally flowing from that, as you see, retaining wall, and then also along this hillside, and take it into this drain box where it can be easily distributed across the back of the landscape within this 6-inch corrugated piping system we put together. Now, the reason I came up with this design is because I knew that there was a tremendous amount of water that was coming right here along this hillside. We're going to be sodding this area on phase 2 of this design, but it also says that the backyard, folks, was absolutely riddled with a lot of erosion and mud puddles. And so what my design came out to be was this beautiful decorative dry creek bed that you see here, which was going to allow for me to capture all of that water on this landscape that was truly taking this landscape down the hill and washing it away, that no longer is going to be able to do so, because now once you add an aggregate with these river rock along with the erosion control fabric, guys, the water is going to move down to that drain box in the most effective manner. And so this is what we talk about when we say we come up with landscape drainage solutions that solve your landscape problems for a lifetime. Now, in addition, we're going to be bringing a lot of pine straw and planting on this hillside. So anytime you have a lot of erosion, most of the time it's because the water is able to hit the bare dirt. And if that is the case, you want to make sure that you're getting some type of erosion control methods. And so the pine straw and the sod on this side and pine straw on this side along with plants is going to be a great addition to this landscape, while also being able to capture the majority of that water that is coming from this landscape based on how high this retaining wall is. We're talking about 20 inches, folks, 20 feet, I'm sorry, and that is what was continuing to disturb this landscape. And so when we look at this design, we came up with an idea to give this customer the ability to be able to take in that water that comes through those weep holes. As you can see, these weep holes have a tremendous amount of water that come out of them, guys, even after it stopped raining. That's right, even after a long rain and it stopped raining for 2-3 hours, we're seeing a tremendous amount of water that come out of these weep holes. And what they do is they fall to the path of least resistance. And so traditionally, the customer was having an area on their landscape about 2 feet wide that was just washing itself away. And now what we've done is we put our dry creek bed, our famous custom dry creek beds, together on this landscape in order to make sure that that landscape doesn't just wash away, but more importantly, in order to give this customer the design that's going to last a lifetime. Now that water is going to move through this aggregate 4-inch rock. It's also going to find itself not being able to go into the bare dirt, so it has to move down this dry creek bed. And then it's also going to be encompassed by the decorative gravel. Now, one of the mud pits on this landscape was the fact that there was a tremendous amount of erosion taking place where the water was able to move onto the bare dirt. That's right, the grass that was here was not able to grow because it was a shady area, but we also had a situation where the water was standing on the landscape. And so the only way that you can truly begin to deal with something like that, guys, is to begin to remove your sod and put in some type of aggregate. And so what we did is we brought in this beautiful eggshell decorative gravel, and we made the entire backyard capable of being able to sustain the erosion for a lifetime, because no longer does that water get to go down into the bare dirt, but it now has to be encompassed by this erosion control fabric that then no longer allows it to move nowhere other than down on this pathway of the least resistance of the landscape. And as you can see, the erosion control fabric along with the decorative gravel is going to be what solves this customer's landscape drainage problem, while though we can't stop stop the water that comes out of those weep holes, we can certainly put a tremendous amount of river rock and decorative gravel along those sides of the retaining wall in order to suck up that water. Now, another part of what this landscape is doing, guys, is that the water is falling to the path of least resistance. And so what we had to do is come up with a way to stop that water from just tearing up the backyard. So we also put in a drain box here, while at the same time doing one of the most critical things when it comes to landscape drainage, and that's tying in those gutter downspouts. That's right, we tied in every single gutter downspout on this landscape that now allows that water to go into this drain box. That's also going to deal with the amount of water that was coming from behind the wall, and then also the water that was coming from this particular retaining wall just based on its fall. So as the water came out of the weeping holes, that water fell down to the path of least resistance, and it created this muddy mess that you see here. No longer is that going to be the case, as the water is going to have a 16 by 16 drain box that it can encompass, and it's really going to be able to solve this customer's drainage problems once and for all. Those gutter downspouts being tied in is going to stop a lot of that water that was being able to accumulate on the landscape. But it just goes to say, folks, this is what we do most effectively each and every time you give us a call right here at Brooks Landscaping, where we're always focused on solving your landscape drainage problems and